Okay, so hey guys, it's Plots-A-Lot here with another My Hero Academia What If video, and today we're going to be doing What If Deku Was the Avatar, Part 10. So in the last part, we had Deku absolutely destroying the sports festival. He's finally revealed to the world that he is the Avatar, but before we get back to that, let's get to what's happening in the background, because there's something interesting going on in the background, and some of you by this point will have already picked up an inkling of what that is, considering, you know, we're still basing this off the My Hero Academia timeline. We have Stain. Now, both the heroes and the villains have been paying attention to Deku throughout the sports festival, because he's just been showing such a ridiculous performance, this kid with so many quirks. Like, everybody in the press wants a statement. Deku is showing off more and more quirks. They think of him as this young hero who just seems to have a quirk hidden up his sleeve, and then another one, and he's made this crazy statement. The Avatar? What even is that? The world doesn't know what that is, and the world definitely wants to know more, and the media are ready to find out for the world. But it's not just the public watching. Again, the heroes are extremely interested. Having such an amazing sidekick in their agency would be like finding the Holy Grail. The villains are also watching intently. Shigaraki's drawing blood as he scratches the skin on the side of his neck in sheer frustration, before looking at Kirigiri and is quietly saying, "I knew this kid is going to be some trouble for us. I knew he was going to be some trouble for us. I think we should let him know." Another villain watching from the sidelines, who some might not even consider a villain, is Stain. Now, Stain's watched this, but this doesn't stop Stain's objective. Stain still wants to clean out the world from these fake heroes. He still wants to destroy the fake hero society that he believes is currently plaguing the world, and he's still going ahead in Hosu City and committing these murders and so on and so forth. And one of the people that's come to stop him, just like in the regular timeline, is the turbo hero, Ingenium, Ida's older brother. Ingenium and his squad are searching for Stain and Hosu, and, you know, they're going around the whole city, and Ingenium eventually finds Stain in the alleyway and confronts the villain, just like in the original timeline. The hero killer Stain still manages to injure Ingenium and leaves him for dead in the alleyway, and news of this reaches Ida as well, but it reaches him a little bit later. It reaches him after the sports festival. Ida was very intent on focusing on the sports festival, and so left his phone in his locker throughout this. Seeing Deku just completely blew his mind, and he didn't pay attention to the fact that his phone could go off. He'd just completely forgotten about that. But when it does ring, he hears that his brother is in hospital, critically injured and paralyzed, no longer able to do any hero duties. He was now retired because of this one villain, the hero killer, Stain. This sends Ida off, just like in the original timeline, and as a result, the Hero Internships do end up having Manuel taking on Ida, just like in the original. Now, the rankings for the sports festival are as follows. In first place we have Deku, in second place we have Bakugo, and in third place we have Todoroki, with fourth place being Tokoyami. Now, all the rest of the sports festival, essentially, we're going to ignore. Essentially, yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. Stain, you know, he's still there, and so Ida's still going to go for Manuel no matter what. Deku and Todoroki actually have different internships, because Deku doesn't have one for all, and so he doesn't end up going with Gran Torino, but I think an interesting thing for him to go to would be to go with Todoroki to Endeavor's hero agency for training. Endeavor wants Shoto to learn from Deku's usage of his fire and ice quirks that he has, and he makes them spar for the week. Deku seems to be extremely proficient with his fire quirk, and even though his ice quirk only seems to work when there's water already present, he's still very impressed with how he uses it, and Shoto technically has a more powerful usage of ice, since, you know, he actually has the ability to generate his own. He spends the week showing Shoto new techniques after sparring sessions, and Endeavor's teaching him just continuously new techniques, and Deku's picking up on them through the spars that him and Todoroki are having over that week, and they both get a decent amount stronger. Deku's obviously holding back a little bit because he's proven that he can beat Todoroki, even if only by a bit. Because Todoroki might have more power with his fire and his ice, but Deku has more experience, and he has a lot more training because, again, he's done a lot of meditation training in his mind. He can continue to train as he sleeps. He's got this kind of amazing ability to just continue training all the time, and he's very determined. His goals are to be the #1 hero in the world, to be the avatar, the bringer of balance, and so he knows that he needs to be on top. He knows that he needs to surpass All Might in power, and that's pretty difficult to do. Bakugo actually ends up going to Gran Torino for training to learn how to control One for All better. He already knows full cowling, but Gran Torino's style of fighting is very interesting. Yeah, that's probably a good way to put it. He bounces around a lot, and showing Bakugo how to use placement a bit better rather than just going in for attacks is one thing that could really improve his fighting style, and Gran Torino and All Might agree. And so he does go to Gran Torino for training to learn to control One for All better, and also just to learn how to fight better and fight less aggressively and more tactically. Initially, Bakugo's a bit kind of iffy about this because he quite likes his fighting style. It's his, it's aggressive, it puts his personality out, but Gran Torino eventually convinces him through basically just beating him up that he can learn still. And that does make Bakugo a little bit more humble. Basically throughout the week he just gets humbled. And by the end of the week he has learned to fight a little bit more tactically, and so in his future fights we'll see him start to use a few different techniques. We'll start to see him use his surroundings a little bit better, use tactics more rather than just focusing on his strength as his main catalyst. Ida does go to train with Manuel, and quote-unquote train. Really, he just wants to find Stain. And Deku and Todoroki both end up going with Endeavor to Hosu City to see what's going on there. They want to see what's going on with the hero killer Stain, and Endeavor's been asked to look into it, and so they end up running into Stain. They run into Stain in a very similar situation where Deku hears something and he thinks, okay, well, this is a problem now because we're looking for Stain, we hear something from an alleyway, sounds like Ida, and we know Ida's in Hosu City. And they know that Ida has a kind of a bit of a grudge against Stain, and I don't think grudge is a strong enough word. He hates Stain, and that's his one objective at the moment, just to take Stain down, to kill him, for vengeance. And Stain doesn't like that. Just in the initial timeline, he thinks that Ida he falls into these fake heroes. All he's doing it for is just his own personal vengeance. It's not for being a hero, it's not to save people, he's doing it specifically just to gain vengeance. And just as he's about to plunge his sword into Ida's neck, both Deku and Todoroki, as they are together, rush into the alleyway. Todoroki freezing Stain in place, and Deku sliding across the ground using earthbending and sliding across one of the walls to get a good look at the situation from a slightly higher perspective. Deku takes his advantage that he's now got as Stain's frozen and attempts to shoot a fireball straight into Stain's face, but Stain breaks out of the ice and flips over onto the wall, flipping back, bouncing off the walls and landing near the back of the alleyway. Stain gives a bit of a smile. He's a bit concerned because he knows these two. He's seen them on the TV in the sports festival, and he knows that these two are both trouble. He's seen what they've done. He's seen what they've done to the arena. He's seen what they can do to him as a result, and so he's quite cautious. Now, Stain is essentially a little bit kind of nice towards Deku in some senses. He's not going to exactly think of him as being a horrible person from the start because he's heard Deku's announcement to the world. He's heard the press conference where Deku's tried to explain what the Avatar is as the bringer of balance and peace. Although nobody's really exactly sure what the Avatar really truly is yet, but they have an idea. He's a peace bringer. He's a balance bringer. He's a symbol of peace, almost, you might say. And so Stain can respect that. He says, you know, kids, I think you should leave, because I like you. I like you, Avatar. You're a real hero in my eyes. But this guy on the floor, he's a fake hero. He came here for vengeance. He didn't come here to save anyone. You two have come here to save your friend, although Shoto Todoroki, the offspring of Endeavor, that blasted hero is exactly the problem with the hero society. And you are next, but Avatar, I'm giving you a chance now to leave, because I like you. I like you, kid. Get out of here. Now. He threateningly looks at them, giving them a bit of chills, but Deku isn't fazed. Deku isn't fazed at all, because he knows that now he's released that statement, that he is the Avatar, he can't back down. He's got to continue to smile in the face of adversity. He's got to continue to be the symbol of peace and balance for the world. He's essentially got to be what All Might is. And if he's going to do that, he can't back down from a challenge like that, especially when his classmates' lives are on the line. And so Deku simply responds with, I don't think I'm going to do that. Deku slams his foot forwards, his foot careening deep into the ground, swallowing him up, actually, and diving underground. Todoroki begins his assault, throwing ice towards Stain again, trying to freeze him in place, but Stain dodges this time. Deku pops up from under the ground, straight underneath Stain, knocking his legs and sending Stain a bit off balance. Deku thinks this is his chance. He's creating a spike of earth from the side of one of the walls, but Stain notices this coming as well and simply spins out of the way, jumping up on top of the spike and launching himself towards Todoroki with this almost animalistic rage. He hates this guy, and Deku's finally starting to realize just how much he does. He really thinks that there's nothing else to Todoroki but the son of Endeavor, the hero that he hates the most, and Deku disagrees with this on a fundamental level. He's not going to let him hurt his friends, and he's definitely not going to let him hurt Todoroki over his preconceived notions of him. Deku knows about preconceived notions. He knows that everybody's now thinking that he's got to do so great because he's got all these quirks and he's made this big statement, and Deku knows what it feels like to have these expectations, although from a completely different angle to how he would have had in the original timeline. In the original timeline, Deku would have thought, well, everybody thought I was going to be weak because I was quirkless, but in this he's got the exact opposite. But Deku being Deku, he's still empathetic, he can still look at it from all these different angles and get to the same conclusion that this is wrong. So Deku spins across the ground, this time on an air scooter, riding up as fast as he can towards Stain, and gives him a solid kick to his back with an airbending kick. An airbending kick that isn't just air though, because he knows that now Stain has a good idea of who he is, he knows what he can do, and so he needs to pull out some moves that he hasn't before, and so he also pulls some dust up from the ground into it, sending it flying into Stain's eyes as he turns around to look at what's coming towards him and what's hitting him. This blinds Stain for a moment, and Deku takes this as his chance now. Deku takes some of the water from a puddle and freezes Stain's ankle as quickly as he can. He then uses this opportunity to jump up using airbending and slam a fireball straight into Stain's stomach, sending him flying backwards and into a bin. Stain quickly recovers, getting up before Todoroki can fire a fire blast at him. At this point, the Nomu incident's also happening because, yeah, Shigaraki's extremely ticked off in this timeline. Not just because of Stain's rejection of them, but also because there's this new big shot on the grid, and he had a chance to get rid of him and he didn't, and he wants to just vent a little bit, to be honest. Shigaraki's a little bit of a kid, this is just venting for him. And so he set the Nomus loose as well, and they can hear this going on in the background. And Deku wants to get this over and done with as quickly as possible, just to kind of avoid having to deal with that anymore. He sincerely wants to help out as much as he can, and he feels that spending time here dealing with Stain, while there's this whole crisis going on around, is just a waste of time, really. Meanwhile, in the background, Gran Torino and Bakugo are both heading to Hosu City. Well, technically they're not, but they are heading past Hosu City, and their train still gets attacked by a Nomu. And so, just as Deku slams this fireball into Stain's stomach, Bakugo actually bursts around the corner, and everybody's shocked. They weren't expecting Bakugo to be here of all people. And Stain's extremely shocked. There's another one of these kids here? How many of these kids are going to arrive? Now, holy crap, Stain is extremely outnumbered. There's the top 3 candidates from the UA Sports Festival here, and they're all powerful in their own regard. He's not ready for this at all. Now, Bakugo's pissed off as well because he sees Deku, and after his loss, he's not exactly on the best of terms with Deku either. So, as soon as Stain gets back up and launches towards Bakugo, Bakugo holds nothing back, and using the new techniques he'd learned from Gran Torino, he starts bouncing up and down the walls. And Stain's confused because this is not the fighting style he was expecting from this guy. And when Bakugo slides under his legs and shoots an explosion straight into his back, as Todoroki encases him in ice, he knows it's over. That's Stain down for the count. Alright, so that's where I'm going to leave it for this part. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry about the little bit of noise that was some of my flatmates, but hopefully it's not too distracting because it is right near the end. If you guys like the video, leave a like and, subscribe if you want to see more videos. Press the little bell notification if you want to be notified whenever I make a new video, whatever, all that stuff, all that good stuff, right? You guys know the drill at this point. Every YouTuber and their nan says it, so yeah, do all that stuff, please. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next part. Alright, bye guys.